I'm good. I'm good. Just getting excited for the week.
All right, so I want to start our call with kind of a perspective, and then we'll wrap with the same perspective.
Okay.
So, what's the big message that I think is so relevant right now are three things. One is there is momentum being created in the marketplace right now with the interest rate movement and the Fed rate and all this stuff. And I think the first perspective is we need to ride this momentum through the end of the year, meaning it should be starting to pick up for you. And momentum's a good thing in business, right? Like when we start to get into momentum, I think you need to be thinking about how am I riding this momentum train between now and the end of the year so I'm at full speed when 2025 gets here. The second thing, Mark, is it's business planning season.
Right.
And I don't want to say people were losing, but I'm going to say most people didn't feel like they were winning the last 2 years. And I believe you can win in 2025. And I believe being like all on planning your business in this season of business planning is going to be crucial to being set up to win in 2025. And
Mhm.
here, I get it. As a leader, we come on this every year at this time of year going, hey, you need to have a business plan and all this stuff, which I every year I'm always going to carry that flag. You need to have a business plan. But for some reason, it feels like there's extra emphasis on it this year. Like
Mhm.
really get tight with your business plan for 2025.
Right.
Any thoughts on those two things?
Yeah. So, well, two things. One is as far as the interest rates go and the momentum that's being created, that momentum is something you have to harness in
Yeah.
your business. So you need to take the messages and get to your database and educate them because they still don't really truly understand what Fed lowering the rates means, and they didn't understand already that rates had already come down to the very low sixes, and that a lot of clients right now are
Did he freeze or did I freeze?
He froze.
All right. He
He
froze.
froze.
He's gonna love that pose. Welcome to Zoom land. All right. So anyway, the what he was saying is that there's confusion around it. And actually we've got some articles that we're gonna move into here that's gonna talk about explaining it and what a lot of it means. But just to finish the three things at the beginning of this is one is ride the momentum train through the end of the year. Two, extra emphasis on business planning and winning, setting yourself up to win in 2025. And the third thing is it's a mindset check-in. Where's your mindset on all this as you're just getting your head right, right? Like getting our head right as we're going into fourth quarter, getting our head right as we're getting ready for 2025. And Mark was spot on, and he will probably chime in when we get to the articles. So let me
I'm back.
oh, you're back. There you go.
Yep, just real quick. The point was, and sorry, I got kicked offline for some reason. The point is that we need to get into activity now if we want to see success in quarter one.
Oh, 100%. That's the whole momentum thing, right?
Right.
Yep. All right. Let's hit these numbers. So on Fulton County, new active listings hitting the market 1,036. Anything north of 1,000 in Fulton County is good in my mind.
Hmm.
So we were 50 less than last week, which is non-issue, but you can see going backwards, we're still putting a healthy number of new listings on the market in Fulton County, which to me, we can go here for a minute, but it wasn't 18 months ago. We would come on these calls, Mark, and talk about, man, the hardest conversation right now is a seller that's got a 3% interest rate that doesn't want to sell and go buy. And I remember making comments at that time saying that's an emotional feeling around business or numbers,
Right.
yet it will dissipate over time. And I feel like we're starting to experience the dissipation of that feeling. And people are that are put off selling their house, waiting on a different environment economically, are starting to make those decisions now.
Right.
Uh,
Economically, every month that goes by, more and more people have life events that are going to cause them to need to move regardless of the rate. And the sticker shock from going from 3 to 8 and now down to low sixes has worn off.
there you go. So 124 said yes to the property in the last 7 days. If you look back at previous weeks, there was only 1 week that had more almost for a 2 month period. So to me, that's evidence that's telling me the interest rate environment's creating movement in the marketplace. Um, 272 are pending, strong pending number for Fulton County right now. And then we've got 213 that closed out in the last 7 days, which is a little bit off last week, but higher than it was 2 weeks ago. It's bouncing around a lot right now.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm looking at those lead measures of how many people are going under contract, and I'm seeing that momentum created. If I
Yep.
jump over to DeKalb County and scroll, sorry, I didn't pre-scroll. 609 new listings hitting the market. Pretty healthy number for DeKalb. Anything over 600 in that county is a good amount of new properties coming on the market. They've got 72 active under contract, healthy number, but they've had some weeks that were higher, but they tend to fluctuate between 70 and 80, 70 and 85. So if I was trying to measure, I think that's a normal number for decab. So I couldn't make the statement that there's a momentum around interest rates just on that number alone in DeKalb County. But if you get down to pendings, they got 184 pendings.
Hmm.
And if you just look backwards, you would have to go all the way back to July 1st
Right.
to have
Which
more
means end of
pendings than
June
right. Yeah.
activity.
Yeah. Than right now. So
Hmm.
then that number would say 100% there's momentum around this interest rate
Correct.
environment. And
Yep.
then 126 closed. They had a big week last week. So usually they spike and come up and down and that kind of thing, but not a exciting number on the closings in DeKalb, but we'll watch it, right?
Mhm.
And then if I hit Cobb and scroll, oh, here we go. 504 on new active inventory, little
Mhm.
bit down there for them. 77 on active under contract, which is a little bit down on Cobb County. But you jump down to 187 pending, same comment. That's a huge number of pendings. So
Mhm.
maybe it was just an off week of going under contract, but overall, really healthy pending number. And then they
Mhm.
had 142 closed out, which is a little bit off some of their bigger weeks, but better than some of their lower weeks. So I'll take it. But the big message is if I was talking to a consumer in the marketplace, Mark, I could be in an integrity statement saying we are seeing momentum of people buying houses now, and we're seeing that in the numbers.
Correct. And that also supports the anecdotal evidence I've seen just from talking to lenders who said that since the Fed dropped its rates, their phones are ringing off the hook. So people are excited to get back into the market, it seems.
Yeah, and I just think I'll keep saying it throughout our call today, but there's a wave of momentum coming, and if you're not feeling it, you should be.
Hmm.
So you should be paying attention that there should be a momentum building in your business right now. All right, Mark, the big message last week,
Right.
Fed cut the interest rate. Now, what is the commentary around this? There's a lot of commentary, but I think there's also confusion. And I want you and I to try to dispel a little bit of confusion for just a minute.
Okay.
So the federal funds rate is the rate that the banks can borrow money from the government. And the federal funds rate is probably the most important lever that the US government can use to control fiscal policy or the economic environment in the United States.
Right.
So obviously, when we were in the pandemic, then we went into a hyperinflation period. They used the federal funds rate to pull the economy back down for stability.
Right.
And then this is the first time the Fed's gone the opposite direction. So it's a
Right.
pretty big moment in time, right?
Yeah.
Yet the conversation around it is, what does this mean for mortgage rates? Because I think there is confusion of, oh, the Fed cut the rate, immediately mortgage rates are going to start coming down. Which, if I
Right.
just click real quick, they're still at 6.15. I think I was on here last week and they were 6.14.
Right.
So they don't immediately change interest rates. Long
Correct.
term, they will. But what would your commentary be for somebody to kind of create some clarity around this?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is it's not a direct relation between the Fed rate, which is the rate that the government charges banks to borrow money, and the consumer mortgage rate, which is the amount that the rate that the banks charge the consumer, right? There's a lag in the response to that, and it's not directly proportionate, although there is a correlation. So it will eventually go down. In regard to that, but interest rates had already come down a great deal in anticipation of at least a 1/4% reduction. The good news is with the 0.5% reduction, it's more than most people anticipated. And in the long run, it means we should see rates dip down. What economists are saying is hopefully in the high fives, 5.9-ish, and low sixes, 6 to 6.1. And we're already at 6.1. So it looks like we're going to dip down just below that 6% magic threshold that gets people excited to have a 5 in front of their interest rate.
100%. And, there's another article here that I pulled up on Market Watch, which is primarily a stock market website. Yet they talked about the investors are cheering a soft landing. So here's what I would say about this is we've talked about a lot at State of the Industry and on this call around at some point we're going to hit bottom and start a recovery period.
Right.
If there was ever data to prove that theory, it's the Fed changing position on the federal funds rate, saying, okay, we've crossed the threshold of bottom and we're starting to recovery. That Fed cutting the rate is proof or evidence of that. Now,
Yeah.
what the soft landing commentary is if the Fed did not cut the rate, there was a lot of economists that felt like we were going to have some kind of a recessionary economic environment in the US.
Right.
Now,
Beyond just the housing market.
beyond just the housing market. So let's talk about both sides of this. So if the Fed didn't cut the rate and allowed us to go into a recessionary economic environment, what would have happened to home prices? They would have come down.
Right. Eventually, they would have come down.
Yeah. But to the affordability, that would have been a good thing
Right.
for prices to come down. So they could have made that decision and not cut the rate and let us slide a little further back into economic slowdown and pulled the economy back down. But
Hmm.
what they didn't make that choice. They went ahead and made the choice of doing a half or a 50 basis point rate cut, which says that their goal is to not let us slide into recession. but to create a soft landing off this inflationary period, which I think is healthy for us as real estate professionals, meaning I don't anticipate prices to go backwards very much.
Right.
And I don't anticipate the economy to go into a deep recessionary environment. And it just says that there's stability or optimism or momentum for the real estate agent in the near future. Anything you would
It-
add to that?
yeah, I would just say a lot of it has to do with jobs, right? Like there were job losses happening, like the job growth was shrinking every single month, and it finally got to a point where the Fed does not want to see any more jobs lost. So this is akin to like a car screeching to a halt and turning around and going the other direction, kind of like Fast and the Furious style. All right, like okay, we're now going to move in the other direction, and that means fewer people will lose jobs because costs are lower for companies, so they'll be able to keep those people, and that means stronger job market means better economics for the people because there's more people with jobs that have that income. So I think it's all positive for the rest of the economy.
There you go. All right. Just real quick, this other article hit InMed said the worst of the storm is over. Time to make waves. Um, I agree. I think we're past bottom. I think we're on a recovery period. And I believe the time is now for 2025.
Right.
And I want to ride a momentum through the end of the year and get ready to make waves in 2025. And I believe you can win in 2025. If you didn't believe you could win in 24, which uh, I would take issue because I think strategically somebody is winning in 24. I
Yeah, we have
don't think
agents definitely having their best year ever.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think it was normal or the majority, if I'm
right.
being transparent. But I
Hmm.
do know people did win in 24. But I 100% believe normal or the majority are going to win in 25 if they lean in.
And this is our opportunity because most agents this time of year start losing interest and the holidays are coming up and we're going into the fall holiday season. So typically real estate agents start slowing down their activity right now and then are always shocked and amazed that in January they don't have any business. So between now and January is your opportunity to like hit the gas hard and go full throttle on your activities so that you end up passing everyone. This is one of those like I feel like I'm on a car analogy this morning,
You're
but like
accelerating.
if you're coming around a turn in a if you're watching like the Indy 500, this is a chance to pass everyone else out and put your foot on the gas and go. And if you get those activities done, you're going to be that much further ahead come January.
100%. I just want to go down and record that Mark used a racing analogy.
Yeah, it's the
Um,
closest I can get to sports today.
There you go. Um, this article hit the Atlanta Business Chronicle. It said Atlanta pending home sales neared 2024 low last month. That is accurate.
Hmm.
But remember, 30 days prior, the interest rate environment was in the sevens.
Right.
So this is the news reports in arrears. And what we're telling you is forward facing.
Right.
And so don't let the news create negativity in your mind. And because I do believe the news doesn't have access to the data around how many people are filling out mortgage applications, how many people are going under contract. We've got that data first. And I believe the news is kind of counterproductive to this whole conversation around momentum. And so I just want to point this article out that's saying, okay, yes, August was not great.
Right.
Uh, I do believe September is going to come in a little flat. But I believe October, November, and December are going to be up. And that's the momentum I'm talking about.
Agreed.
All right. Weird article on RIS Media, but I thought it was worthy of a quick conversation. Said foreign investment in U.S. homes decreased 21%. So this is people, foreign people moving money into the real estate space
Hmm.
inside America. And what I thought was interesting is it's saying uh, China, Canada, China, Mexico, and India were the top countries of origin in terms of the number of US existing homes purchased. So that's where the money's coming from. And the top US destinations for foreign buyers were Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, and Georgia, New Jersey, New York, and North Carolina each had 4%. So 4% doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a chunk of foreign money coming into our market. What do you
Right.
think of that?
I mean, to me, it sort of makes sense that, I mean, first of all, we've seen a lot of this foreign influx of money coming in, a lot of it's cash purchases. So the fact that we have it is not surprising. The fact that it's kind of slowing down, I think there's always, this is the kind of the pre-election scaries. And,
Yeah.
we have the Sunday scaries. This is the pre-election scaries for people outside of the country because there's some uncertainty. So the more conservative folks are thinking like, okay, I don't want to see a dip in my income, so I'm going to hold off investing any more in the US until after November.
Yep. Perfect. The other thing is the strong US dollar makes international travel cheaper for Americans. If you've traveled, I don't know that I 100% agree with that.
Right.
Everything seems expensive, but it makes US homes more expensive for foreigners. So the stronger our money is, the more expensive it is to invest here. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Like we're economically, the US dollar is really strong globally, but it also can make buying real estate here less attractive. But here's a counter to that, Mark. I would think a lot of foreign money would like to own real estate in New York and California.
Hmm.
Yet those markets are very expensive. So it causes them to look at markets like ours that are not as expensive when they're moving money here. So I just think it's a worthy quick conversation of be aware there's quite a bit of money that comes in there to the tune of almost $20 billion worth of money was moved to the US in
Hmm.
buying real estate. And if 4% of that came to our market, that's a chunk.
Right. The other thing to note too is there are new regulations around foreign investment
Yeah.
that went into effect in the past couple of months. So it's a little more restrictive. You can't, a foreign national cannot purchase within certain geography near military installations. So a lot of spending would have that would have happened has probably been affected. So that could account for some of this as well.
There you go. All right. Two more or one more article, Mark. So this one I think is really interesting. We don't like to talk a lot about rentals because we typically make most of our income on purchase and sale. Yet in the real estate industry, we should pay very close attention to real rentals, in my opinion. And it said half of America's rental households considered cost burdened. So if you dive into this article, it found 21.1 million renters spent 30% or more of their income on housing costs. First thing that comes to my mind is why are we as real estate professionals not getting in front of these people and showing them the benefit of owning versus renting? I think we do an okay job of that, but we could do a much better job of that conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a reference of commonly used threshold for housing affordability.
Right.
So what's the if you went to a lender, what percentage of an income does a lender want to allocate towards housing costs or debt service?
28 to 32% typically.
Yeah. So they're already at 30% right in the threshold of being able to afford a home.
Right.
So that's worthy of noting, right?
Yep.
Um, and I don't know. I mean, I think rent has gotten so expensive in the United States, especially our market over the last couple of years, that it should be driving these renters back to owning homes. And
Hmm.
they felt like they got uh we went through a market where it got really expensive to own a home because you're having to pay cash over asking price and multiple offers and all that stuff, which that market was great. And but it also, the downside of that market is it probably pushed people to renting instead of owning.
Right.
And is there a moment in time where those people come back to the table to buy? I think it's coming. It's coming right before us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is the opportunity for us because I mean, just this past week I was having this conversation with an agent and they were disagreeing with me saying that it's cheaper to rent in Georgia now. And I'm like, that may be in some places, but like right now, Atlanta rents keep going up. And, yes, they'd stopped growing as fast as they had been growing, but there's people are still putting a significant chunk of their income towards their rental. So the biggest challenge is most people can't buy something equivalent to what they're renting for the same price. They're probably gonna have to pay more to get a comparable property. So it's helping people understand that the opportunity is to downgrade a little bit in amenity and upgrade in your wealth building.
Yeah. It said three states saw a significant increase in the share of rental households' income going to rent: Arizona, Florida, and Georgia.
Right.
So, we're considered part of the Sun Belt. And I think job market and population growth has a big factor in that conversation, which is very true statement. Yet, we're probably one of the states that probably experience this higher than others,
Right.
which means we should take note of that and figure out our mofers, our messaging, our what rent versus owning looks like in the next 18 months,
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
Brett.
get
especially
really
with
good at
the
using
rates
that
coming down.
FMLS rent calculator, the rent versus buy calculator. And also there are a couple of great Keeping Current Matters slides that address this.
Yeah. So just to wrap us back where we started, I think momentum is your friend right now, and you need to
Right.
ride this wave of momentum going forward through the end of this year. So you're at full speed come January 1st.
Right.
And second, get organized, get your plan, get everything you need to do now to be set up to win in 2025. And the third conversation mark was, if your mindset's not in the right place, maybe you need to spend some effort getting your mindset straight right now, because
Right.
that's key in winning next year and riding the momentum and all of it.
Right. In your mind, it is 2025 right now.
There you go. Just don't stop selling 24.
Right.
Ride the wave of 24. All right. Have a good Monday, guys. Have
Thanks,
a
everyone.